Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with another competitive Pokemon Sun and Moon Moveset video guide analysis. This time we're going to be talking about Gigalith, a rock type Pokemon that got a buff this generation for Sun and Moon. Now before we get into it, I just want to say there's a playlist down below. If you missed any of my previous moveset videos or guides, I encourage you to go and check that out. Link is down below. Also feel free to follow me on Twitch and Twitter. Those links are down below. I'm currently in the process of moving, but by the time this week finishes, streams should be back up on a regular basis, or a more regular basis than they were ever previously. And yeah, hopefully I can get that all done within this week. So anyway, Gigalith received a buff in Sun and Moon. It got Sandstream as an ability, so now it can auto set Sandstorm. That's amazing for Gigalith considering it is pure rock type, which means that it only has 4 weaknesses: grass, water, ground, and steel, and a bunch of resistances. I'll name a few, but flying, fire, normal, just to name a few that it does have. Now Gigalith also has Sturdy and Sand Force, but we're not going to be talking about that at all. We're going to be talking about Sandstream. This is the buff that it got with Sun and Moon. Now Gigalith is actually in the RU tier right now. So the first set we have is the Spadef Tank set. This is basically set up your rocks and eat hits from Pokemon, namely Mons like Swellow, also check fire types like Darmanitan, or flying types in general like Swellow and Braviary. Gigalith is probably the best answer to Swellow in the tier. I would say better than Pokemon like Rhyperior and Registeel, just because Rhyperior can be hit for 4 times effective damage from HP Grass, and Registeel is obviously weak to Heat Wave, whereas Gigalith with the Sandstorm also boosting its Spadef by 1.5 times, it just does not take any damage from Spec Swellow. So this is probably one of the best Spec Swellow counters in the tier, and I'm talking about a full-on counter where it can just switch into any move and not care and knock it out. So right here we have the Spadef Tank set, which runs Stealth Rock, Rock Blast, Toxic, and Earth Power. You could run Stone Edge or Rock Slide. I like Rock Blast though, being able to run break substitutes. Mainly Pokemon like Sub Bulk Up Braviary, and after you break their subs, you hit it with a Toxic, beat it down, wear it down with that. Earthquake is your answer to hit opposing Steel types like Registeel, as well as hitting Pokemon like Diancie for more damage. Leftovers is the preferred item on this set in particular because it is just a tank. A tank is a Pokemon that takes hits and then dishes them out, which is why the EV spread is what it is. 240 HP is a leftovers number. That's how you recover the most leftovers with obviously leftovers on Gigalith. The rest max Spadef, and then it's 16 attack Adamant Nature. Now the 16 plus attack with Adamant Nature, because Gigalith's attack stat is so high, this actually makes most of its attacks do about 2 to 3% more than if you give it no attack investment. So Rock Blast will do about 2 to 3% more on usual. Earthquake will do about 2 to 3% more on usual. But if you find yourselves wanting to use Gigalith and not really taking on fire types or physical flying types as well as you wanted, you could always make this Impish 16 defense, and again, same thing, lets you just take that, you'll take roughly 2 to 3% less damage when you're taking attacks. But the idea of this set is set up Sandstorm, set up the rocks, check Swellow, but not necessarily be on a sand team. It could function very well on a sand team just because it does obviously set up sand, and there's a bunch of Pokemon in the tier, which we'll talk about as teammates, that benefit from sand. But overall, this is just a Spadef tank set. Can take hits from Diancie as well, beat it 1v1 with Earthquake, wear it down with Toxic, even though it does run Heal Belt from time to time, but you do tank Earth Powers and everything, because not only do you have your max Spadef, which is 259 on Neutral Nature, you also have Sandstorm boosting your Spadef for the turns that Sand is up. Now next up we have a Choice Band set. The idea of this set is more so kind of like a baby Tyranitar, I would say. And I want to give a big shout out to my boy EonX, because he does work with me a lot on the RU sets as well as with the RU teams that I do show off. Speaking of which, there'll actually be a showcase of Gigalith, which will more than likely be using it as a support in the showcase. I'm not going to lie, it's a really good support Pokemon, which is why I like it as a support Pokemon, and how it functions in the tier. That'll be going up at 4 p.m. Eastern. This is obviously up at, I'm going to say 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm recording it the night before. I won't be home the day that this is up, but because, you know, still doing moving stuff, but it should be up. But it's basically like a mini Tyranitar that gets up to sand. It just hits hard. The set is just max attack, 48 speed. This allows you to outspeed Pokemon like Reuniclus, min speed, around that speed tier. just being able to outspeed Pokemon like that. But the set is Stone Edge, Earthquake, Superpower, and Explosion. Now Explosion actually is very solid on Gigalith with its solid base 135 attack stat, because this allows you to actually get rid of Pokemon that might stop Lycanroc or Stoutland. I'm talking about Pokemon like Donphan. You don't necessarily OHKO them, but you'll do a ton of damage to the point where that thing will get taken out. Or weaken Pokemon like Chestnut or Bulky Waters, 4 great support mons that obviously appreciate the sand, Lycanroc and Stoutland. Speaking of those, the rest will just put into HP. You could obviously put more speed on this thing if you wanted. I think speed creep is really up to the person. What you usually do is, and this is how I usually make sets when I want to do a set, I'll calc to see what I need to KO something, and maybe from there I'll add the choice band, which gives me obviously the additional power, and then as I have the additional power I can take away from attack, or I can take away from HP, and I can put it into speed or wherever I need. But this was just made because it can outspeed Pokemon like Reuniclus and Pokemon around that speed tier. But Stone Edge, Earthquake, your Edgequake standard combination, flying types and everything on the ground. Superpower also hits Pokemon like Registeel for more damage. I mean, you don't even have to use Gigalith in the RU tier. You can use it in the UU tier. This is also good for just Pokemon in the air, being able to hit them. But like the obvious example, your opponent has something on the ground, your opponent has something in the air, hit him with Superpower for nice neutral. As well as I mentioned what Explosion ends up hitting. It's just great for going out with a bang and actually doing some solid damage with base 135 attack. It's 405 attack, so you're definitely going to be able to dent a Bulky Water if they switch and you explode. And with the Sand boost, you're also still getting good Spadef. Unfortunately, you can't run, like, imagine having Sand Force and Sand Stream on the same thing, getting boost as well as boosting yourself. Now, Sand support, this is more of just a full-on. The idea of this is get the sand up, keep the sand up, use it when you're usually running Pokemon like Lycanroc, like a Lowland Dugtrio, like Stoutland, just to abuse the sand. And the idea of this is keep that sand up, which is why Smooth Rock is the item making your turns instead of 5, they're 8 turns of sand. Stealth Rock, Rock Blast, Toxic, and Earthquake, but just fully Spadef. That way you also check Swallow. You can take weaker Skulls, better for Malamola, which is why Toxic is really nice, being able to punish Pokemon that usually come in on this. I'm talking about Pokemon like Donphan that can easily come in and spin and also threaten with Earthquake. Chestnut that can come in, get up Spikes, threaten with Wood Hammer or Drain Punch or Leech Seed. Toxic is very nice, and again, of course, Bulky Waters, Milotic, Suicune, Slowbro, all of which can come in, hit them with Toxic, wear them down, and that really does support the sand abusers. And then Earthquake, of course, is just your way of hitting steals. Now, a few other options it does have. Assault Vest is pretty cool. I mean, it does get great Spadef. When 80 base Spadef is good, and couple that with, obviously, the Sand Stream also boosting your Spadef, Assault Vest just allows you to take those special hits indefinitely. You can go a Brave Natured potentially, maybe on a Trick Room team. I actually have the set right here, just max attack, 248 HP, the rest is put in Spadef, 0 speed IVs. I mean, it does hit a really, really low speed number. It's actually used in VGC, I believe, to counteract Trick Room as well as beat weather. Like Torkoal, for example, Gigalith is actually a really nice Pokemon in the tier because Torkoal can obviously have Drought. Gigalith switches in on Torkoal, gets up the sand, doesn't care. Rest Talk is actually really nice on it as well if you're worried about Torkoal yawning you or Lava Plume burning you or going for Toxic or Will-O-Wisp. Rest Talk allows you to obviously have that sort of longevity because it doesn't have any actual recovery. Protect plus Toxic also works, wearing down your opponent. Sandstorm also wearing them down, though keep in mind if you're not running something like Smooth Rock, on that set in particular, Protect plus Toxic, I would definitely run Leftovers because you're getting back more Leftovers while going for Protect. So that's just what I have to say about that. So some good teammates already mentioned. Stoutland and Lycanroc, Alolan Dugtrio, great teammates, get boost. These two obviously both have Sand Rush, so their speed is doubled. Stoutland just hits hard with a Choice Band. And Lycanroc also hits hard, but also has access to Swords Dance, so it appreciates that. Aerodactyl or Tyrantrum, some fast rockers are very good with it paired on sand. Maybe they can live weaker hits, and maybe they can live weaker hits from either water types or even just strong special attackers, just because of the sand Spadef boost. Aerodactyl also providing pursuit support as well. Chestnut, Slowbro, and Alomola synergize really well with Golurk. Wow, excuse me. Gigalith. Have I been calling it Golurk? Have I been calling it Lycanroc? I hope I've been calling it Gigalith this entire time. I'm sorry, guys. I'm tired. But they synergize really well. Not only checking its weaknesses or what it's weak to. Obviously, grass, water. Obviously not grass here, but grass here, water. While Gigalith can pretty much tank all the hits coming off at Alomola and Slowbro outside of grass attacks, obviously. And Chestnut can provide spike support. Alomola can provide wish support. And Slowbro can Calm Mind Sweep, and also appreciates Gigalith just taking on Pokemon like Heliolisk that would otherwise threaten Slowbro. So Pokemon like that, just basically they just synergize really well together. I do want to note though that it's not the best checks to fire types like Darmanitan or Entei. Obviously it doesn't like to be burnt by Sacred Fire, and in Darmanitan's case, U-turn, Earthquake, Superpower all tend to wear it down, especially if you're running Smooth Rock instead of Leftovers. So this is why Bulky Waters are also just great partners. But outside of that, Gigalith, really cool Pokemon. Really fun to use. I enjoy it in VGC, I enjoy it in singles, and I hope you guys are looking forward to the showcase. So I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, friends.